What's up? Are we live? I think it's live. I'm gonna check this audio. You guys hear this? All right, we got a little bit of latency between the YouTube and the comments. Yo, hey everybody on Instagram, come over to YouTube so you can hear the audio. You can hear me explaining stuff, but yeah, we're just dialing it in real quick. Get to the good stuff in a moment. Yeah, what's up? Thank you everybody for joining in so far at the top of the hour. I hope you're all doing well. Hey Sai. Obviously there's a lot on all of our minds right now, but hopefully we can just nerd out for an hour or so, and you know, you guys can help me get better at producing with your thoughts on how I'm doing some stuff. So, I don't know, this is a little weird, but I'll just start by talking, I guess, a little bit about Miami Beach, where we'll start. The song is obviously about climate change and sort of, to me, sets the tone for the album. You know, I should do, might be kind of tight if I just like loop this a little bit when I talk. If you, for those of you on Instagram, if you go to YouTube, you'll be able to hear this audio. So this is the end of the song. But I wrote this song about climate change and how I just, you know, it's something we should address. Anyway, it's so weird because I'm not actually talking to anybody. I'm just talking. Okay, cool. So let's just check this out from the beginning. Let's just listen to Miami Beach, okay? Let's all just check it out. So hopefully we got some Ableton users in the audience. Everybody on Instagram. Lara, what up? Jeremy, Dressage, what up? Everybody on Insta, you can hear the audio if you go to YouTube. I think the audio sounds good. Let me know in the comments. Devin Yesberger in the joint. Yo. Okay, let's just start taking a look deeper into the session. So if you look here, my most recent thing I did here was breakout stems. So I kind of grouped everything all over here. So if we unfold all these groups, we'll see. This one's a big freaking session. I'm not gonna lie to you. This one got a little crazy. This is, if you look at the file name, it says whip 19. So yeah, this like 19 versions. It's kind of messed up. I hope it didn't get terrible in the thing. Yeah, cool, Jude. Thanks for saying that. I definitely think about space a lot in the mix. I think the stereo field is really fun to embrace, and this is a great example in the song. So if I hope you're wearing headphones right now if you are listening on YouTube. Oh shoot, something's muted. The vocal chop. I'm just going to say one thing about this section really quick because it's Hey everybody on YouTube, if you want to go to or on Instagram, man, I feel like Bernie at that debate. Go to the YouTube. You can go to the link in my bio. The first link in my bio there is the YouTube link. So this section, if you listen to this group here, the meter of this song is actually 5/4. And then what just happened there is that it's like a little bit of like a rhythmic modulation. So you have a meter in 5/4, and then this is something that I feel like I heard originally Sun Lux do on We Are Rising, this album that really changed my life in a lot of ways, where you have a bar in 5/4, and then you say, okay, well, I want to go to 4/4 now. So you keep the bar length the same, but now you, instead of dividing this bar length into 5 beats, you divide it into 4 beats. So, like, listen to the backbeat. So this new backbeat in 4 in this halftime is actually on beat 2.5 of the would-be 5/4. So I always thought that was like a really cool concept, and it just kind of worked out in this song because the song started as this weird beat in 5, and then I wanted to kind of slow it down for this last section here, and that thought occurred to me of just trying to do that. I guess these are the drums right now. Yeah, actually, so we can even look. If you just look in here at this drum part. So you take a bar of 5 beats and you just place the backbeat on beat 3.5, I guess. So now you're dividing the bar into sort of into a halftime groove, which is kind of a cool concept. Kyle, I knew you'd dig that, dude. So another really cool thing about Ableton is I learned this, I forget, from some tutorial online. Actually, if you look at this, I even laid in 8th note hi-hats at one point for the new 4/4 groove. So that's what it would sound like if there was a hi-hat in that section. Let's listen to that. Actually, a little more pre-roll because I set up the 4 feel early. I did a fill into it with that 4. Yo, everybody on Insta, come to the YouTube. Pretty sick, right? I like that a lot. I do. So anyway, a really easy way to do that in Ableton is like, let's say I didn't painstakingly draw out those, which actually I didn't because I'm about to show you how it's really easy to do. So let's say we have, yeah, Kyle, good idea. I'll put the click on with it. Sorry, there's a little bit of latency, y'all. So the click's gonna stay in 5, just so you know. Hi-hats are whack, bro. Don't put hi-hats in any of your music ever. I'm going to turn the audio up a bit again, a little louder, and we'll do that again. Sick. Such a cool feel. And so back to what I was about to say though with the Ableton hack here. So like if obviously this measure's still in 5, so if we just lay down eighth notes here, there's going to be 10 of them, right? But effectively if we modulate this to 4, you're going to want only 8 of them in there. So a quick way to do this is add 1 extra, grab all these notes like that, and you see this marker here and this marker here. So you can drag this now. So I know that I'm stretching 10 beats. So now I want to stretch like that. And you're just grabbing the notes and stretching. Although, why did I goof this? Because you want to have 8 notes in this pattern. So you want to do it like this. Bam. You guys get what I'm saying. Okay, so I did it one too many. There it is. The verb on that perk thing, let's peep it. Vinyl rim, SP 1200. Oh my god, too many plugins. Stupid. It seems like it's this plate. Yep. Valhalla plate. Yeah, Kyle, dude, you would dig that one for sure. Everybody on Insta, come peep it on YouTube. So I like Valhalla plate for certain things. It's okay. I like that it has a width control. Not utilizing it here, obviously. So anyway, that's a little bit about the rhythmic modulation aspect to it. Yeah, plate in the house. So you can see why I didn't keep those hats in. I just want to point this out because I hear it every time. I really chopped up these vocals on the tape, and I love it. It sounds so edited, but I dig it. Like that little chop right there. I hear it every time I listen, but I can't lie, I love it. So these vocals were recorded. Like that's apart from the sidechain, you can even see the reverbs all the way off in the box. That came in like that through the PMD 22 modded tape thing that I use, that Scott Campbell built. It's an incredible device that I use all over the album, but those vocals in particular. Okay, and actually that's a good segue because right here at the outro, here we are. The outro. So for this outro, what I did here is recorded like. So what I did, I think I bounced a whole section of the song. It was a section that didn't end up making it into the song, but it sort of sounded like this, except in the key of the song. And I slowed it down in the same tape deck, and it sounded so sick to me. It reminded me, honestly, of the Portlandia theme. Like, it just has that compression with the synths and the drums that happened, like, honestly, through the tape. And I just love that. So that's like a little slower and pitched down. And then I just recorded another take of it and panned them hard. Just seemed like a cool idea at the time. So I think I just changed the pitch of these ones in warp. Yeah, I did. I just wanted to add some harmonic movement to this section, so like these first two, it's pretty much a copy paste job. Drop it 3 just to do a minor third movement, because that chord progression of a major chord and then another major chord down a minor third is sort of a recurring theme on the album, and it happens in Tomato Soup as well. So I wanted to kind of bring in that cohesive element to the some of the more musical themes. And then so on the repetition here, this one I pitched down but without the warp on, because I wanted it to start getting even like crazier and weirder. Yo, Jono, hit up the link in my bio at to get on YouTube, so you can hear the DAW. I'm trying to figure this out, man. This is the first time I've done it. Vibes. Sounds kind of like an ocean to me. Felt like the perfect way to end Miami Beach. Drifting out to sea, into the ocean. So if you listen carefully to that section, there actually sounds like there's some woodwinds, because in one of the first versions of this song, I had all these woodwind parts that ended up muting. They didn't work. But check it. It's kind of hilarious. So Devin, I'm glad you actually brought that up. Yeah, if you look at my session, there's probably more muted clips than unmuted. I don't know. I tend to work in a way where I record so much shit and try, especially on this album, I was thinking about arrangement so much, and I just think it sometimes for my process, it takes me trying things a lot of different ways and having things in. And one of the things I really like to do is if, there's a section where there's some fundamental aspect of it that I've had in that section since the section has existed, I'll try that section without that element and see what it sounds like. I just feel like it's good to question the systems and whatnot. So, but then in that sense, I clearly can't ever fully commit to just deleting them. So there's just a graveyard of muted clips in my sessions. What can you do? Anyway, yeah, Renaissance Fair vibes. Jono! What up, fam? If you don't miss it, you don't need it. You said it, Devin. That's exactly right. Okay, well, I want to make sure we get a chance to look at some other songs, but Carlo asks, how long does it typically take to finish a track? It depends how insane I want to go on working on it 24/7, basically. Miami Beach took a long time, a lot of hours to work on it. If we look at just the file tree, I'm sure. All right, you know what? I love you guys so much. We're going to do this. Let's check out the first session of Miami Beach from April 20th, 2019. This is going to be potentially very embarrassing. Although it could also be embarrassing in the sense where if you like it better than the final version. Yeah, Devin, I grouped, I do mix my stuff, and it didn't look like that with all those groups from the onset. That was for stemming them out for a live performance. That's just the session I opened. All right, everybody, here we go. V1 of Miami Beach. All right, so far we're good because that sounds like shit compared to the record. Okay, not even a chord change in this version.
There's nothing we can do now, the earth has spoken. Miami Beach is the water of the ocean.
How about that? It's like kind of there. It's just really the very beginning, the seedling of it. Ooh, I really like that piano. Actually, I do remember I kept this part in for a long, long time before I eventually muted it. It just felt like, even though it's a super energetic chop, it was mellowing it out oddly because of the tone, so I ended up muting the piano. Alright. Okay. Alright. Last call for comments on Miami Beach before we... Yes, Jude, it definitely is a sketch. It's totally a sketch. I know somebody wanted to check out Stardust, so maybe we'll peep Stardust next. Scott, Russ, I love you guys so much, all of you. Thanks for hanging. Stardust. Here we go. So Stardust originally was called Myanmar, but I changed the name to Stardust. Go to VSTs. Well, I really like the Juno by Tall. I don't have a Juno, so if I'm gonna use a Juno sound, I'm gonna grab that Juno from the Tall company. I like all these. I guess I use Wavetable a bit now. It's a pretty good one. Sublab is pretty tight for 808s. Serum is really nice if I'm trying to get, like, you know, that kind of really hype hype vibe, hype synth vibe. Thanks, Andrew. Wavetable. Wavetable's tight. I'm not gonna lie though, I end up replacing a lot of VST synths with the Prophet because it's just the Prophet beats it all every time. Let's peep Stardust.
I'm a shooting star. I'm a break apart. Red on your heart. Dust in the bazaar.
I can't lie to you. Right now, I'm not running my mix through the overstayer, which was doing some dirty compression. So the mix sounds good, but not not tip top. Speaking on groups a little bit, in this session, at the end of this song, I wanted everything to just pump harder and harder and harder. So I grouped a ton of shit. I grouped it all and put this compressor on it with the threshold automating through this last section. So it just goes. I don't know, I just like that. Stardust. So the vocals got a little silly in this one because I ended up tracking a lot of things and retracking them through the overstayer MAS, which kind of became a pretty significant player in the process for me on this album. Let's check out the vocals.
I'm a shooting star.
By the way, I'm not saying that I'm a good singer at all. I just like vocal tones. So I was trying to get something that was like edgy, but what can you do but have fun? You know, this world's so fucking crazy. What? We just want to have some fun with our music, man.
I'm a shooting star. I'm a break apart. Rain on Myanmar. Dust in the bazaar.
Here's the best one.
Yeah.
A lot of fun stuff going on in the verse of this. Let's check it out. That's a fun sound. That's kind of like a significant sound in this song. It is a track called GR1 Violin. So the GR1 is this granular, tasty electronic synth thing, which I got kind of recently, which is kind of tight. So I probably bounced some of these strings to a file. Actually, I did, and then made like a granular synth patch out of them. So another note about the process, really, I'm just going to copy this piece of audio and put it over here. Actually, that region is probably the same thing. One thing I do is just like record so much shit. I just jam out, not even with the track, and then just find like cool moments that I remember and chop them. So like if we listen to this. That sounds cool. Whoa, that's really cool. You can make a loop out of that. So yeah, I kind of just and I do that with my modular, with the granular stuff. It's all super fun. Okay, let's check out what we all probably want to check out, which is this shit. Oh. Smeary tape percussion thing happening. Wow. I think I know what you're talking about. Tape perk. This stuff, Kyle? This is definitely made with the PMD22 again. I was definitely manipulating the tape speed. Just sounds like there was some sort of percussion loop going into it, or that I recorded to it. Same scenario here. There's all this stuff in front of it. Oh man, that tape machine is so sick. Got some siren. I mean, come on. Gotta get that shooting star vibe, you know what I mean? Go, Andrew. Go, Andrew. And on that note, everybody who needs to go to stores because of serious measures that were put in place, you should go now. And do your best to stay safe out there because it's crazy, obviously. Be well. That's nice. Yo, I got to give a major shout out to Jay Markovitz. Major shout out to Jay Markovitz because he engineered, let's take a moment to look at these strings. He engineered the strings. Orchid Quartet, they killed it. They sound so good. Like this whole section. that one's crunchy. Yeah, okay, so check this out. Yeah, good job, man. So, this track is so distorted and gross sounding, but in a great way. I got it, and look, there's no plugins on it other than an EQ. So shouts to my dude Jay Markovitz, who engineered the string session. He set up, if I recall correctly, an SM57 on the cello that was then going through some crazy rack mount distortion module type thing that I can't even recall the name of, but it was so sick. That's what it sounded like. And I really used that microphone a lot on Tomato Soup as well, because obviously that song is really intense at moments, and that distorted mic came in handy. Obviously, a big inspiration for this song, or at least the strings part of it, was Burn the Witch by Radiohead. So you can hear in the strings part, we actually didn't do, that is called col legno, when you hit it with the back of the bow. And that's kind of the sound of that Radiohead song. We didn't do that at the string session, but I layered the real strings. Or did we? We did. At any rate, they're in there. Just to give it that clicky sound so it can't... This is bass. All right, well, yeah, you want to talk about VSTs a little bit. I'm using Pigments for this bass sound. It's okay, right? Got some hi-hats. The percussion in this song is one of my favorite parts. Let's look at these 4 percussion tracks. So I think something that's become really trendy in popular music is these like distorted sort of vocals that just do some articulation that get folded into some rhythmic loop that's used throughout the track or whatever. And I really like that too. In fact, in a lot of ways, this song Stardust is like my weird twist on trendy pop music, because like even with the vocal melody, I'm a shooting star, it's like that rhythm, da 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 da. It's played out, frankly, but you know, we're doing this thing here. It's like the Hark Madley pop song. So this track called Mug is definitely me just picking up something off my desk and starting to jam out. Same with this one. And here is the fun vocal part. pretty cool. Another note about my process is that I love to. What the fuck is that? Squeak, squeak. The Scottish snap, Russ. That's hilarious. So I like to dig through recordings and find little weird moments to use as percussive elements that aren't traditional. So I have this track called Violin Spring here, and what it is that. What is that? I don't even know, but what it was, we can tell by nope, that is a short audio file. That was a sound that happened in the recording session, and I don't know what it was, but one of the string players hit something on their chair, I think, and it sounded super dope. It sounded like a spring. So that's in the track. Let's just listen to the drums. Honestly, I think this is a cool. Yeah, so to answer Dressage's question, I think it is a delay that I just put at 100% wet. Yeah. And one side is real time, 0 milliseconds, and the other time is a dotted quarter. So you just have, you turn an otherwise mono sound. Here's no echo boy. It almost sounds like quack, but it's not. Quack. Make a little rhythm out of it, you know? Kind of fun. Okay, another note about the digging for audio files. Check this out. Going into the second chorus. So the first time we have the yeah, right? And we do it again this time. Yeah. I love that. And then this time we also add this sound. What is that? What is that? It is a reversed laugh from one of the string players in the session in the room. If we reverse it. There it is. So I just reversed it and dragged it back a little further. So undoing that. I love it. It's right before the drop. The drums are pretty simple. Just a pretty much electronic. I have several 808s going on because this song kind of took a little bit of time to dial in the kick and bass relationship. And then the snare is what's really sort of driving the energy of it. Cool sounds. Here's the snare drum from that part. I think it's just run through the overstayer. And all these yellow tracks are just effects. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a bit of shamelessness here with the use of a More Giraffes sample from our splice pack. But I mean, come on. When you're looking for that kind of noise, we made it. What can you say? This is a dive bomb. Made that with the modular synth really quickly, just sweeping an oscillator or whatever. That's pretty much this song here. Oh, here's all the modular synth stuff. Not bad. Arrangement wise, in the first chorus, we did this uppy thing, or down. Where is it? That's also GR1. In the second chorus, we go up. All right, let's take a moment to appreciate the Orchid Quartet. Okay, last track before we go to the next one. This one is called the MG track. It's Micro Granny, which is this little granular synth. It's kind of nice as far as granular synths go because it's so shitty that it is super clicky. It really does a terrible job at stitching together the grains. Not that it says that it does any kind of grain stitching, but it just ends up coming out really jagged. But I kind of love it for that, and so I use it pretty frequently for weird things like that. All right, and So It Shall Be with Tomato Soup. What's the main synth underneath the strings in the track? Prophet. The main synth on that Stardust under the strings was, the track was called Juno, but I don't have a Juno. So it could be one of two things, and I don't remember. It's either the Juno soft synth that I ran out to the overstayer and back in, because it had OS in the track name, so I know whatever it was, I printed it through the overstayer. It was either that Juno soft synth or Prophet. It was probably, if it's called Juno though, it was probably the Juno Tall Juno soft synth. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yo, Teddy, come to the YouTube. Oh my God, Bernie. The YouTube. I love it. Okay. Here we are in tomato soup. A quick note on I need that real Juno for show, Teddy. Quick note on vulnerability. You know, I felt the least confident in Tomato Soup about the whole album up until the day that the album came out. And then I listened to the album for the first time on the day that it came out. And when it got to Tomato Soup and I listened through, I was like, damn, I'm actually really proud of that song. So, you know, it can be tumultuous and turbulent. But we're all in it together. The life of an artist, especially when you have music that isn't out yet, that you've just been listening to fucking nonstop of as you finish the mixes and etc. All right, let's check out Tomato Soup. Tomato Soup. Sounds so good. Little dramatic. Little dramatic. All right, well, let's check out those drums. So we have a few drum tracks happening. There's this one, then this one, and this one. Oh, that's a good sound. It says verse sax pluck, so I think it must be a sample from, yep, it's a sample from, so Amber Navran did sax on my album. It's just a little blip from her, but there's no sax on this song. That's from probably Green Amendment. I love the saxophone as a percussive instrument. The finger things, the reed sound, the air. I think sax is probably one of the most complex and nuanced sound sources, and I just think it's so versatile for so many different things. Anyway, so let me give a shout out real quick. If I turn the sidechain off on this, it's still actually getting pumped super hard. Is it the limiter? Yeah. Okay. So recently, I don't know if anybody listens to that podcast, Hanging Out with Audiophiles, but Jamie Liddell's podcast, it's an awesome podcast, and he has this section called Nitty Gritty, which he does in every episode. And he talks about an audio technique or techniques or ideas or experiments, and it's like really cool. And so there's one episode where he was talking a lot about using the iPhone for different things, and I was really inspired after that. So basically, this track is just an iPhone recording of this track. But played through the speakers or whatever and captured on the iPhone. All right, so let's undo a bit and look at this main drum track now, because it's very strange sounding. I don't know. They might be a little squeezed, but what can you do? Somebody asked me about 808s recently. This one is obviously just a little drag and drop job. I mean, when it sounds that good, you don't need to do much to it. We have these fun things. That piano's muted. String quartet. They crushed it. They sound so good. This little section here that happens next when if you were tuned in when I was talking about Miami Beach, I mentioned that chord progression of the major chords that go down a minor third, and that happens here. I think it's F major 7 and D major 7 in this case. I recorded the strings mic in June, and I started really working hard on the album in April. So I guess like a few months into really working on the album did I incorporate the strings. Another part of my process on this album was using pedals a lot more, and guitar pedals especially. So these, for example, it's like some part that I what up, Andrew? Chromatic mediant. I don't know what that means, but it sounds very cool. So that sounds like it was going through, the polymoon and a reverb before it came into the box. And this is a profit part that's kind of doing the same thing. They work together. All right, let's check these strings out here. They sound beautiful. Again, shout out to Jay Markovitz, who engineered the strings. So Jay gave me a few options. This whole live stream thing is definitely giving me my okay boomer moment, as in like, Jesus. So Jay gave me several options of string mic combinations to use, which was super helpful. So the primary one is this XY configuration. So that XY is nice for, just kind of the more straightforward sound, close-ish. But this is the mic. This is the mic that I used primarily for the songs with strings as the main microphone, which are these. I'll have to ask Jay what they were again. I think it's N something. I'm so embarrassed. I don't remember the mics that Jay used on this room pair, but the room pair sounded so good. And going back to what I was talking about earlier, gotta add that low piano note. So that really distorted mic I was talking about earlier with Jay's mic selection, the SM57 that he put on the cello and ran through this insane module outboard thing. So here are all the strings in this really kind of nuts section. Wow. So apart from this top one, which is a riser that I made for other purposes, these are the strings we recorded. The sidechain is super aggressive in this section, so it's kind of difficult to monitor. And this is that microphone. So that distortion is all happening. Wait, let's check it out. Yeah, I'm not doing that distortion. You hear that? It had all these crazy harmonic artifacts. It was so cool. It sounded awesome. Shout to Jay, because that microphone really became the sound of this song in particular. Listen to this. Now listen to that in the context of the song right there. we had a lot of fun recording this part. Sick to my stomach, this part, and that's kind of how I wanted it to feel. And then we did another one where it's more of a straight riser. All amounting to this. So that part is the most intense part of the record, or the album, and arrangement wise, I knew my markers are so stupid. This section says "build it!" exclamation point. It's like a motivational marker. Second half. Okay. This song sums it all up to me about the future is the question. Without getting too political, I feel we're living in times that call for urgent and drastic changes if we want to preserve the integrity of the future for mankind and womankind and all kind. And so this song sort of balances this really ominous kind of brooding section with a more beautiful, optimistic section. And that's sort of how I feel about it all, because I do believe that we have it within us to reach a greater potential when we work together and whatnot. So especially right here, I just wanted to like really feel the most aggressive that you feel on the whole album about sort of the dire nature of the situation we're in. So I hope that translates there. And then I hope it, I want to immediately after that section too, give you a break. If I imagine like the beautiful full budget music video for this, now it's like, something crazy just happened. Now it's like a totally new section. Shout to Brooke Williams, who sang backgrounds on this track. I put her vocal into the morphagene and slowed it down with the time stretch mode. Sounds sick. I love that. Also, this song is obviously kind of a doozy, and so if you flip on the arrangement or the automation for the tempo, I do 2 tempo shifts in it for no other reason than I just felt like it. So towards the end of this build section, we went from 87 to 94. I'm not sure if you even perceive that tempo ramp really. Maybe slightly in a feeling of it just building intensity. You really feel this one though, I think. Be day and light. Bio for audio. So in this final section of the song, I wanted to kind of bring together both worlds. So I brought back the aggressive drums that we've been hearing in the verses and like crazier sections, and also mixed it with what I was calling the garden for this sort of. And that's basically the end of the album. This track just goes on forever. As does this one. So this track is piano delay, so I definitely oh, let's listen to that. So at this point, that piano, it's piano that I sent out into guitar pedals and back in. And so this, what we're hearing now, is a really long feedback tail from the Maris Polymoon. What I love about delays, especially, and really long feedbacks, is that they totally become something entirely new. If you can control the feedback to where it is really feeding back on itself and not decaying completely, but at the same time controlling it to not become too unwieldy. Yeah, cool texture. All right, that's Tomato Soup. What can you say?
It's been way too fucking long now.
Okay, let's check this out. This is definitely one of these moments where I recorded a bunch of Brook into from the Morphology and just jammed on it to find cool parts. So like if that was the original region and just dragging it out, it's really what I do mostly is just record a lot of stuff and then select, 5% of it.
It's been way too fucking long now. It's been way too fucking long now. It's been way too fucking long now.
Okay. Kinetics it is. We're going to open up Kinetics. Tomato soup. Tomato soup. Hey, thanks again, everybody, for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I keep thinking, like, hey, like, what are you doing this weekend? It's like, oh, yeah, nobody's doing anything this weekend. Sorry for every time I touch my face in this, if I have. I've been quarantined as though, so don't worry. All right, Kinetics, let's peep it. check. I hear myself. Why do I hear myself? It's not right. Okay. So Kinetics, sorry about that. We're muted for a second. Um, Kinetics is one of the more simple songs on the album. There's not that much going on in it other than a lot of cool, fun effects. So basically, the concept with this one was really just to keep this pretty steady groove happening and then just dance around with different explorations of audio manipulation, which is kind of, I guess, something I like to do. So most of the tracks are vocal tracks, harp tracks. Shout to Lara Samoji, Lara Harp, who played harp on this one. We should definitely check out some of the harp stuff. Shout to Callie Ryan, who contributed a verse and a bunch of cool vocals to this. Okay, let's check it out. So let's start with the harp. So this song started with this harp part, except I played it down here on Prophet first. Just a nice part. Nice part. But you know, on synth it was like a little too it was too not that. Sounds so good on harp. So there's Lara is also an amazing pedal and effects wizard. And so like this track is a microphone. Shout to Cyrus Reynolds for engineering the harp. I think he used some Soyuz microphones on the harp. It sounds really nice. I added that delay here on Echo Boy just for a little bit of bounce. And then this stuff came from Lara's pedal board. Why? Oh, sends only. That kind of stuff. So that came DI from her pedal board. Is infinite to 1 too high of a ratio for sidechain? Probably. So the harp part gets a little bit more complicated in the next section that it enters. I add a few other parts to it. Here's the bass, and now we have a lower one. So cool. And then here's this highest part. It fades in. Pretty cool. Laura is dope. You should hire her if you need harp on something.
Milk and salt poured on my memory. There's a flash rest on my energy. Wait of you and
David Peremic. Yeah, she sounds so good. So the process of working on this with Callie was a little unique because we didn't write it together. I sort of had this track and we played a show together last year and I was blown away. Like, she's so good and her set was awesome, and so we became friends then, and then we wanted to collab on something for a while. And so as the album was starting to take shape, I definitely wanted to see if I could get her on something on it. And this track, especially, it just sounded like something that she would sound really good on. So I sent it to her and she was down with it. So when she sent me back these vocals, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it sounds sort of like she just added vocals to this track. So how can we make this more cohesive? And so we took some of these vocals that she sent and made different instruments and samples and different parts from them. Let's check some of those out. This is one of my favorite ones. So she sang this super cool melody in her. I love that melody, so I chopped her vocal and I put that on a little instrument rack. Kind of reminds me of like some DJ Snake shit or something. That would be a little silly, but I thought it sounded really cool. And somebody earlier was asking about stereo space and whatnot, and this is a good moment for that. So something I'm always thinking about in the music is tension and release. So you can look at that in a couple ways, but one of the ways I think about it is like, okay, a narrow stereo field and a super wide stereo field. It's like any sort of yin and yang concept. So if you have a section that's really building and starting to dance around a little more stereo and get weird,
when I said stop, you said no.
then you juxtapose it with something that's a little bit more focused in the middle. Yeah. This came from the Morphogene, no doubt. I honestly don't know why I make this kind of music, but I have fun. I love doing this kind of thing where you print. I'll just throw reverb on any track and make it 100% wet. Open a new track and route it so that that first track is going to the new track, and just print a bunch of reverb. And then use those as either reversed moments or little impact moments. Like that would sound cool like that, or it would sound cool like this. You know, so I love resampling. It's just a good fun time. And a lot of modular synth textures on the whole album, of course, but especially in this one. We've got this friend. If you know, you already know. That's the Magneto. Sometimes I feel like everybody who has modular shit's just thinking like, oh yeah, that's a Morphogene. Oh yeah, that's a Magneto. Oh, this is a funky one. I just love modular synth textures like that. They lay into tracks and like just vibe. So I will say this much. Okay, yes, I'll do that. I think it's recording. The Prophet 08 is my main polysynth, and it's the synth that I use all the time, every day. And I love it for everything. And the one thing that I don't love it for all things for is the bass synth. But this case, the one kind of bass synth that I think the Prophet is really good at is a bass synth that sounds like this. Again, is infinite to 1 too high of a sidechain ratio? Probably yes. But that Prophet sound is like, it's definitely on a unison mode with all 8 oscillators, and turning up the pan spread a little bit, so it's kind of wide. So I feel like the Prophet is good for that kind of bass where you have a big 8 oscillator, detuned, wide, filtered, more pad kind of bass sound. That's like longer notes and maybe glidey or swelly. I think those are what the Prophet excels at in the bass department. I mean, that's really it with this song. Let's just listen to the drums and percussion. Looks like it's mostly programming on this one. The sticks sounded weird in playback. I don't know what's going on with those. A quick note about drums too is like if you listen, there's a pitch to this drum part. Like it's very important to me to always make sure my drums are in the key of the song. And sometimes like I'll think that the kick is in the key and then it's not. And just working on the mix more and more and more, it'll click one time like, oh, the kick is off a half step or a whole step. And then you put it in the right key and all of a sudden the mix starts to gel more. It's like amazing what making sure the drums in the right key do. Dun, 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 dun. Is there a part of me that exploits the Prophet for dancey noise sweeps? Yes. You gotta do that. I mean, come on. This is a coffee bean shaker. We've started roasting our own coffee beans here, and one of the parts of that process I like to do is sort of shaking it in a strainer to bounce some of the extra skins off the beans, and that has a cool sound to it, so I sampled that. A very noisy shaker. The Micro Granny makes a reappearance here. I can't lie, I always thought it was kind of funny that like the song is over. And then there's just this really long vocal glitch at the end. I don't know why. As Andy Schauf would say, why do I do the things I do? All right. Well, we've been going for like an hour and a half, and it's pretty fun. Does anybody want to shout out? What we're hearing now is another example of this same thing. So it seems like all this shit is stuff I recorded with Callie in the Morphogene, maybe? Weird. Weird. All right, it's been real. It's been real, my homies. Okay, Boomer. Peace.